Welcome to the JM Exchange podcast. Just have normal conversations with people from Cleburne, Johnson County area that are doing cool things and helping people out. I just wanted to say thank you to a few people that have helped me bring this together and make this happen. Number one, I want to thank God. I can't do this without Him. I also want to thank my wife. She's given me great support and stayed behind me through this whole thing. And also family and friends that have given me support too. Want to give a thank you to Blake Jones Agency for allowing me to set up my studio. I want to thank Carson Luce for graphic design. I want to thank Jerry Lair with bjjloan.com. Reach out to him for any of your residential loan needs. John Bendes, and also the guests that come on and share their stories. Hope you enjoy the conversation. Thanks, y'all. All right, and we're rolling. I'm here with my favorite guitar tech, DJ Henderson. DJ, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are.
All right. How's everybody doing today? My name is DJ Henderson. Our family's been here for quite some time. And I am one of four siblings. I've got three sisters, and I'm the only boy. And then, of course, my mother, father, Reese and Doyle. They're great people. Pops worked at Bell for a long time, Bell Helicopter, and Mom has been working everywhere, but she's currently over there at Quick Creek facility in Alvarado. And, got my sisters around town, around the area. Youngest one is probably the closest, the younger two. And they're working with the community, and one even with Mr. Blake Jones, the former the candidate for the most recent mayoral race. And congratulations for all the votes, but I understand that we didn't quite get there, but we'll try it again next year, next time. And that's always what we're looking for, is trying to make the next step and make progress, right? Anyways, so I've been a big music fan. I kind of got it from my mom a long time ago, and got my first guitar from my uncle, gave it to me, and I pushed, myself to learn a little bit, but then you get to a point you just hit a wall and you close yourself off from that for a little bit. Now, with a attention deficit hyperactive disorder, we tend to take on a lot of hobbies, lots of hobbies. And one of those hyper-focused, it was music, and I went all around with it. We were in choir, band, and then I still wound up hitting guitar. And probably about freshman year in high school, when I finally was like, you know what? I'm going to pick this thing back up, and I'm going to force myself to learn it. And I met a friend, Mr. Brent Carver, back in the days, and he had just moved from California, and he was new, and we were we had been church colleagues and Boy Scouts, because as we were raised, we had both, or as we were raised, I was brought up in Boy Scouts of America. And we did the Cub Scouts to Boy Scouts, and all the way up to my Eagle. Almost got it, not quite. There was a time limit on that, and once you get past that time limit, it's pretty much you can't. And so I was actually the oldest of my graduation year, like of my school group, my colleagues, because I was held back a year. As I was a little bit smaller, I would have started and graduated in 2003, but Mom and Dad were like, hey, it's still kind of small. Let's see if he grows up. If he gets a little bigger, we'll put him in school next year. And so I did. They were like, okay. Anyway, so wound up getting into band in high school, the Cleburne Marching Band, Golden Pride, and had 4 wonderful years in the Golden Pride Marching Band, and spent, I guess, also 4 years in the choir. And went UIL concerts, contests, lots of competitions, You win some, you lose some. That's all I could say. Is we had some good times, and we definitely had a lot of losses. But it was really a lot of that was a really interesting perspective to grow up on in high school. Like when you're used to sports and stuff, it's one thing. You grow up in your sport. You have certain times cut out for practice and your schedules for that, and you got to make time for that. Well, there were several times where I'd be playing baseball, right? For instance, uh, I think it was sophomore junior year. I took on baseball because I was like, I'm going to do track or something, and I was like, I enjoyed baseball back in my younger days and football, but I never grew to the size for football, right? Didn't have the shoulders for it. But we, I started, I picked up baseball and was still, running the routines of doing other things, maintaining, duties at home and still doing the thing and also picking up a job. Like, because back in the days, we would get a job at 16,
100%.
right? And so working at Subway, and at that time I didn't have a car. My parents believed that I would get my license one of two ways: that I would have to either graduate seminary, which is a Bible study program that the church offered, which is pretty much like 4 years of Bible study. It's like pretty much school every day. It's pretty much like school every day, before school every day, and it would be like an hour and a half every morning. Uh, for well, there'd be two programs. There'd be one in the mornings or longer ones in the afternoons, like in evening time. And at first, all I could do were the afternoon, evening ones because I couldn't get a ride. But eventually, I started driving myself. Well, eventually, I started riding my bicycle. A lot longer distances than just down the road because it's quite a distance from point A to point B to the high school. So uh, I spent a long time learning how to ride that bike because it got to a point where the bikes couldn't keep up with the road and the speed that you were going. So you're like, okay, well, on to the next one,
Right.
and then more gears and more gears, right? Eventually picked up a road bicycle, curved handles, a lot lighter weight frame. And I started using those, and I realized, hey, I got the legs for it. Well, I like this. And this is all during the schooling and it was freshman year. I wound up getting in a bad wreck. Like, I was messing around with some friends who were going down, riding our bikes down the road. And I just got this old bike up and going, and I'd been fixing bikes for years at this point, like just like, buying, because we didn't have a lot of money. So if we got lucky, Dad would be like, hey, I found a really good deal at a pawn shop. And I'm like, that's awesome. It needs a little work, but it'll get going. I'm like, all right, yeah, I don't mind. Give me some WD-40 and a couple of wrenches, and we're going,
Right.
And so I eventually found my, affination for working on things. Now, Dad was a mechanic before he started working at Bell, but he was a mechanic all my life, and that's why I have this affination for repair. And later on, get to the point where I start building things myself, and growing satisfied with your projects and the end results of those projects or of all that hard work. And so as Dad was working on cars, he'd show the girls. I'd have to work on the cars with him, with the girls, whether they were there or not. But as 4 kids in the family, everybody has a car at this point, and each car could go wrong at any moment, as that always plays out, right?
Right.
Whether it's a flat tire, overheated. And then back in the days when you first got your license and you didn't know, what is overheating? What does that do? If it's low in oil, should you drive it? If there's no if there's no coolant in the radiator, should you keep going? And so we did learn the hard way, right? So um I got to embrace all that knowledge and all those mistakes as well, I got myself into learning how to work on my guitars, and I had the issues of having the guitar on my shoulder. And as an electric guitar, it can be heavy, right?
Mhm.
And the headstock can be a little bit heavier depending on the build. And we call it we call it a dive. Okay, we call it a headstock dive or a neck dive, and that's where you're holding it, and the weight of it, you're no longer transferring it properly, and it swings forward, headstock forward or first,
Mhm.
and winds up catching something, or at worst coming loose off of your strap and just plank. And you know, Gibson is known for that, notoriously. I know there's a cough button, but I'm doing it on purpose. But you know, and that's where I was like, why is this the purpose of that? And I started eventually fixing my own things, and I'm like, you know what, I'm getting good enough. I started having friends reach out and just, hey, you know, I have an issue, and you're familiar with guitars more than I am, and you know, my familiarity went from, you know, a 0 level skill, minimal, got no mastery, to the point of I'm still learning every day, by the way, but up to the point where I'm more competent and confident with diagnosis, with testing, with the abilities, and my knowledge of instruments and their builds and their I'd say personalities and characteristics or traits, because each instrument kind of has their own.
Yeah, I understand.
Like all those instruments in there, every single one of them has their own vibe, you know, and they're gonna
100%.
work to a certain. That Alvarez right there, sing like an angel. You play it just right, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But you give it to a kid that doesn't know what they're doing, and it could be getting a headache. You know?
That's me.
Yeah. wait, the kid the headache or the angel?
The kid with a headache.
Oh well, I would disagree there, because I've enjoyed jamming with you for quite a bit. As you've been one of the few people that I can play guitar along with and next to or behind, and not have to worry about it becoming a nuisance. You know, because yeah, I enjoy your voice, but you know, if you sit behind somebody that, you know, their voice might sound like nails on a chalkboard, and you're just like, you just, you know, like playing, just be happy, and oh my god, that's so painful. We've all experienced those.
I appreciate that compliment.
Yeah, and your playability has come a long way too, because you were the one person that I met that could, it's like, hey, you want to play some guitar for a little bit? I'm like, yeah, and I'm thinking, okay, do I need to teach this guy chords? And he's like, I got songs already, bud. I'm like, wait, you got songs? He goes, yeah, I wrote this one. Check this out. And I'm like, okay, all right. Color me impressed, mister. And so, of course, that's Shayla knew you from way back in the days, and she said, you got to meet my friend Joey. And I swear, every time we tried to make that happen, it almost didn't work, because like every time, like I'd be at a party, you'd already be throwing a party, or I just got to somewhere for the evening, and we're doing like a whole evening. I would say binge, right?
Yeah.
Well, I would say safely without going too far, and and be like, oh, Joey calls. I'm like, yeah, man, what are you doing? Oh, I'm in so and so's, or I'm here, or wherever, and I've got an extra guitar, or you bring your guitar, let's jam, bro, it's going. And I'm like, dang it, I am not anywhere to be driving right now. Oh, but yeah, man, anytime I can make those chances, like the time that will always catch me, because all those times on the back porch back in Rio Vista, off looking over the ponds, man, those were wonderful nights. Not a thing, not a care in the world, just stars, tunes. And if you didn't have somebody making requests, it was just, hey, what do you feel like playing? I don't know what I'm playing right now. I'm just strumming. Well, keep going, because that sounds really good, and I think I got something for it. Because it's like we did. It's hard to vibe with some of those people.
Yeah. That was fun back then, man.
And I bring my little electric guitar, my little amp, and I'm like, all right, I know Joey's got his guitar, somebody else has got their acoustic, and I'll put my electric guitar out, and we'll have the makings to jam.
I always loved it. You could, because I never had that whole like lead guitar vibe. I never could really do that much picking. And then next thing I know, when I was jamming with you, you'd just be like, get right in there, and I, when you hear the noisemakers making the right
noises,
it's like, man.
Yeah, it makes the noise hearers feel a lot better.
Yeah, right.
That's what I've really enjoyed about music. Now, I reflect back into the music sense, because that is one thing that I've seen that through my life, has always brought me peace. Now, granted, you can listen to all levels of music, and man, we are both on different ends of the spectrum, but we still listen to the same musics. But to my depths and stuff, you would disagree with listening to it on a daily basis or in certain environments.
Depends on my mood.
Yeah, if you're working out and you need something hard and heavy, this is where we're going into the metals and rock stages. But when it comes to, like, I'm doing repair work or soldering work, man, when I'm staring at an electrical, like a wiring system or harness, and I've got to do solder work, and I'm just like, okay, I cannot, like, I'll be jamming, it'll be whatever, but at some point it's like, okay, I can't deal with words anymore. I can't listen to what you're talking to me with. I just need noise. I need comfortable music. And I'll play like Rachmaninoff or a Vivaldi, or I'll play Mozart or Beethoven, or I'll go even into Alberto Garcia. No. I'm saying it wrong. Isaac Albanese. That's who it was. Isaac Albanese. And classical composer, or classical guitar composer, a classical guitar player from Mexico, southern Mexico. Wonderful music. And if that name sounds familiar, he's plastered all over all the, I'm going to play violin or cello to these things in the background in Spotify, right? Like, I found it, right? Okay, I'm a video gamer, okay? I'm a nerd, okay? I embrace it. And one of my favorites of all time, right, would be Fallout. Fallout's one of my favorite series at that point. And the thing that I find, the odd thing that I find is my favorite is the music, okay? I'm a soundtrack kind of person, okay? It can make or break a movie, a video game, a scene, a setting, a party, the soundtrack. That's important. You know what? That should have been a whole section. I'm sorry.
Just there you go.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And that started leaning forward.
Yeah,
I'm getting into it. But as we're saying, music makes and breaks, but it's always around and it's always present, and it can always get somebody. It can always reach you on whatever level it is. I find myself, like, I'll be honest and say it, I find myself sometimes when I find the right music and I'm in the right emotional state, in between I'm just driving, I can feel the goosebumps. Like, I could feel my, like, tears well up my eyes, and I'm like, man, that's a beautiful this, that, or another, whether it was the drums, the bass, the piano, the guitar, the vocals, or the message. And you're just like, oh, I felt that. And you're like, ooh, and you just get it all the way up. And you're like, this is a favorite now. I will always listen to it as a primary source for that, feeling, or that inspiration, or for an inspiration, or a boost. But music kind of, it guided me to, as I started learning and playing and picking around on chords and playing other people's songs, and then learning how to write and create your own music. It opens your mind to a lot of things. Once you get past the chord stage, right? Mm-hmm. Hard to get past the chord stage because nobody wants to go past a bar chord. Nobody wants to put the time down to play a bar chord because then they're like, ow, now my fingers hurt. That's going to happen. It's going to happen. I'm sorry. AI's not going to do that for you.
Right.
One day it may. I don't quote me on it, but music's really got me in a good place, and that's where I felt safety, and I felt so safe and so comfortable in this environment that I've been able to share that knowledge and information, education, if you will, to those that don't have it. And I got to a point helping other people with this or that, just little things. Hey, I don't know how to change strings. I got you. We got you. It's no biggie. I met people at Guitar Center. I'm sorry. I had a background of Guitar Center for over 5 years, and sales for about a year, and I went into operations outside of a year, I want to say, and I was operations until the end of it. And operations is essentially everything except for selling the guitar. Like, you could sell the guitar, or you could sell whatever there, but you're pretty much in the stocking, storage, loss, safety, and loss prevention, security, and then also you're on the cash side of things. You've got to make sure that you open with this much money and that you close with this much money, and what happened to that money in between, who bought what, who traded, anyways, without going into, boring details. But I learned the corporate side of it, and I spent a lot of time in that area, and I'm like, okay, I'm learning as I'm going, and I'm recognizing, like, man, some of these people that I've run across would be these wonderful individuals that have never, not once, ever changed their own string. They've owned a guitar for 50 years, played guitar for 80 years, however long. And they said, I've never changed my own strings. I won't,
Wow,
and I won't
crazy.
learn how to do that. And I'm just like, imagine, wearing shoes every day and not tying your shoes. I won't learn. Anyway, that kind of brought up to I was like, okay, where are you from? And some of these folks are like, I came from Lubbock. I came from Granbury, Weatherford. I'm like, man, I'm working in Hewlin Street, Fort Worth at this Guitar Center, and which I'd never worked in big cities before. Which Fort Worth is the biggest city I've lived around and worked in. So I'm a country bumpkin. I was born and raised out here, and I do respect it, but the city life is a whole. That's out there. So. And we won't go too far into all the things that you could see at a Guitar Center in Fort Worth. But I will say, that we did take care of the homeless because you couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
But they, as we had a public restroom and a public water fountain, and that was it. But the fact that we had public restroom, public water fountain, it made it acceptable for anyone to, and so we were like, okay, well, get past the stage of you're disrupting customers to, okay, you just handle your business and leave. We're fine with that. But it was very interesting. You run into all sorts of characters. There's some that we had Chili's right across the way, on one corner, and then you had Total Wine
Right there.
and Liquor on the other corner. And so some husbands, some
I was just moving mine a little bit.
Some husbands would go with their wives out for the weekend, and that's a good like, they have thrift shopping, they have a maternity store and a resale, so it's a nice little spot for like a new couple or whatever. And a lot of the times, the husband and wife would go out for the thing, or boyfriend girlfriend, however it goes, and they go out, the gal would do something, and the guy would say, hey, there's Guitar Center over here, let's go. And at Guitar Center, you can go in and play whatever you want. You can ask for the $5,000 Gibson off of the wall and plug it into a shitty little Line 6 amp. I'm sorry about the language. You can plug it into a little bitty Line 6 amp and be like, hey, I'm comfortable with this. It's going to sound great. And they're not going to, they have to let you do that. I mean, they could advise you and suggest to say, why don't you put that in something a little more punchy and get a real effect of what that is, or here's another guitar, try that one. But so we'd get some interesting characters that would get in there, and we had this what they called the acoustic room.
Yeah, I love that room.
So the acoustic room, beautiful. I loved that room. As much as I worked in there, it was cedar plank. Okay, it was the cedar plank siding, all over the walls, the ceiling, the columns, and you walk in and you just smell all those acoustic guitars,
man, that's
you know,
awesome.
and they're brand new. You don't have nobody smoking anymore. It's not smoking inside, okay? So we're not the fucking 80s. We but we have a humidifier in there, and a couple times we caught people smoking weed in there, right? We can't say we caught them smoking, but like you're in a room inside of a building, and the one person of many that are around there working could recognize that smell and could tell without a doubt that is not patchouli, bro. And so I don't care. That's not your pits. I know it. No, that is a live skunk, sir. You've got a live animal in your pocket, or you have the marijuana. We might have to cut that part, but anyway,
No,
but we,
that's fine.
you go into that acoustic room, and sometimes you'd have some people that are just super loud, or they're playing offensively, like they're using a bass, like a hard bass pick, to be strumming on classical strings and just breaking strings. You know, it was a weird so I would see a lot of instances where it's mishandling of the instruments,
Mhm.
right, in a bad manner, where you're just like, I, for the sake of my sanity and the rest of these people in this building, can you please stop, or try another instrument, perhaps? Or maybe not pluck the guitar that has the plastic strings with the hard plastic pick like a razor blade? Because it's just like at one point was like, and I'm like, hey,
Golly,
bud,
dude.
you. Now, it would be equally interesting because sometimes you would have groups of friends come in there and they'd have a good lunch over at Chili's, right? Maybe stop by the because Total Wine and Liquor during the weekend they do their taste tests,
Mhm.
right? It's always timing. It's all about timing, right? You time it with you say, hey, we're gonna start over at Total Wine and Liquor, then we go over to Chili's, get a little bit of food and another little cap, and then we come over to Guitar Center and just let it flow. Sometimes people go in there and they would jam. Like, I've had it to where a guitar player would take an amp and the guitar over all the way to the pro audio section, where all the keyboards and all the lighting and stuff is, and like you get it ready, and then they have a buddy that plays the piano, and they're jamming the piano, they're playing songs, and the guy gets on the guitar and starts ripping, and you're like, respect. Y'all gonna buy anything? Okay, well, let me know if you need anything. Okay, because that's the thing. Are you gonna buy anything? We're commission based. I need to. They have a rule where you have to be within 10 feet of a customer.
Oh, really?
10 to 15 feet of all customers, all times, because of safety, loss prevention,
Ah, that makes sense.
and excuse me, let me. So we had a lot of fun stuff in the loss prevention section of that. We had the guy go. Okay, so loss prevention in Guitar Center would be every location would have their operations department. We would be in touch with everybody,
Mhm.
so we'd be on the same page. The whole company's on the same page, except for the sales guys. Most of the time, they're just kind of winging it. And but for the most part, if they've been there for a while, they know their salt. I got my buddy Brent Wall out at Guitar Center Fort Worth. Go see him anytime. That guy will hook you up. But also, if you need to know what guitar pedal was played on the certain album of the Beatles, or of Led Zeppelin 4 album, or the Physical Graffiti album, because I had asked him this prior, and he'll tell you exactly the amplifier, the guitar, the pedal selection. This guy had the knowledge. I got to pick all these guys' brains. I loved that. That was my favorite part of the day, was picking the brain. And oh yeah, am I
No, I was just trying to move mine to where it's like right
in the
in
sweet
my,
spot?
in my little sweet spot over here.
Yeah, it's almost like it's if you can catch it at, if this is
Yeah,
12
like
o'clock, it's either 2 or yeah, like where it's almost like I walk around because I'll move to this, but
Yeah.
as soon as I get out here,
I'm
yeah,
still learning these too because they're brand new.
it's okay. We're learning together, man. But it was eye opening to be there, and I got to learn from a master luthier, Mr. Gerald Ray.
So I used to take all my guitars too when I was playing all the time.
Oh, that guy was. Oh, I loved talking to him all of the time. I'm sorry for context. In operations, in the position that I wound up with, um, and it's gonna pain some of you to know this. I got to see almost every. Actually, I lie. I got to see every single guitar that came in for 5 years before anybody. Like, this is a Black Friday event. Technically, the guitar is not allowed to be opened until a certain day, because if you leak it, it is like I want to say it's kind of like a lawsuit problem.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything. Anyways, so we got to open a lot of instruments, just in general, because I'm working in receiving and shipping as well, and so when we drop the truck, it's like 3 guys. It's me. At that point, it was Edward and Rob. At different points, we had different managers, but we would crash out like a 1,500 piece or 1,600 piece truck that's like hand stacked in a couple hours. Like, it got to the point where they had hand stacked no pallets trucks, and we were just like, no, send those back. No, we ain't doing that again. We at least bring us a pallet load of stuff at a time so we can move it out of the way, get it inside, and then sort it. But once we sorted everything, I get all the guitars, and being my background, I would then stage all the guitars, look at, depending on what they are. If it was a mandolin or a banjo, I'd set the bridge, and if we needed to adjust it, typically they were all pretty much fine. Everything comes loose, like nothing's tuned. Like, unless you get an American made or a custom shop, it ain't coming in tuned in. And it's not gonna hold tuning immediately. And so as you get these in, we'd have some wild looking guitars come in. And some of the things, like, you would just, it makes your heart happy. You're like, oh, that's so cool. You got to, I got to see this before anybody got to experience it. That was the level. I was nerding out. I was a fanboy in that room. So the facility that I had was basically a ramp right next to the repair technician that does the string changes, that does the part changes and the pickups, all that. And this was before. I'm still tinkering at this time. And while I'm there, I eventually moved from sales to operations. But through that time, I'm getting to know all these people I'm working with, and Gerald becomes one of my favorite people. And and Mickey Rourke, that guy's, I love that guy too. He's fascinating enough. He's a drummer that is a guitar repair tech, but he was a piano repair person before that. And so I'd A/B conversations with him with issues, because at that point Gerald had to step away because he had health issues, and at that point COVID killed everything for everybody, as far as anybody that had possible health or autoimmune disease deficiency. And so Mickey stepped in as that full-time repair tech, but he wasn't a luthier, so it's like some of that kind of went elsewhere.
Yeah.
Luckily, Sigonero, thank you, Mark Mitchell Sigonero, for bailing me out for a lot of the work. That and Eastwood, or I'm sorry, Ken Eastman. That guy also, great guitar luthiers, great luthiers in the area that I would go to and refer. If you need anything like smashed bodies taken care of, okay. I started picking up repairs and everything, and I got further into it, and I'm realizing at my current state that until I learn luthery, I wouldn't be comfortable enough with taking on certain things unless it's my own,
Yeah.
say, instrument. Let's say my guitar. Say I stumble into it, and, or walk the chair into it. I'd have to learn how to fix it, or trash it. I had a prototype for a little while, a little Kona, that I would do these repairs on. And most recently was the most extreme repair, but the damaging process went a little further than it was supposed to, so we just kind of had to scrap it all together. So I let my buddy do the whole Pete Townsend. Are you familiar with the move?
Yeah.
Take the headstock and just swing like a battle axe, like you're chopping firewood. And I don't know if you ever got to do that, but
I never have. I never have.
Legal things aside, I'm only allowed to say that there's some sense of satisfaction for destroying a guitar. It doesn't need to be working. It could be a POS. It could be that little thing that doesn't even play real. You bought it first act Walmart. I'm sorry, First Act. I know you make good guitars too.
Do they?
I'm just digging a hole now. But that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna bring you that First Act guitars. Hey, I'm sorry. Here, everybody sign this. That's my apology.
Nah, that'll work. That'll work, man.
But so a couple years ago, sorry, I'm circles. So a couple years ago, I had the band going, Always Never, and I actually had two bands, Natural State, which is still going. I'm not a part of it right now. It's like a hiatus. They've kind of got to back to practicing, but I'm at a point where I'm like, I'll move on. The other band being Always Never, which was Fort Worth's high score band that had kind of rebranded for a little bit without Jesse, and then kind of brought him back. And anyway, so I was part of that for a little bit. That was fun. And then I got all my professional gear, and then I was like, man, I don't like this guy, and I'm out of here. And so that was a fun experience. So, but I got to go. I don't know if you've ever been to Platinum Recording Studio, Platinum Hills. Sorry, Platinum Hills Recording Studio.
Fun fact: I've never been to an actual recording studio before.
It's mind-blowing experiment. Like it's similar to coming in here and from doing we'll say, for instance, it's going from doing an open mic, like showing up to somebody else's open mic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's not your gear; you're just showing up with a guitar in your brain, and then your next gig is this, and you're like, oh, that's not, wow, that's not duct tape holding that thing together, So so going, coming into this environment, this is beautiful, by the way. Congratulations on this setup, guys. This is nice. Shout out, thank you, Blake Jones, for hosting, and thank you, Joey, for having me on. This is a great opportunity to be able to sit down, talk with you, and pick your brain. Let you pick my brain. We can talk about the things, and but I'm sorry to come back to it. So I just started a Henderson guitar repair several years ago. It is something that I took on as I was working in these bands, and I was doing my own and the bandmates' guitar repairs at this time. So I was doing it for free, and then they just pay me for the parts. And I'm like, people, I'd mention the through passing by of conversation. Hey, what you been up to? And I'm like, oh, well, I've been doing this. And they're like, well, why don't you turn that into a business or something? Why not? Okay, all right. So I hit up old uh, Vistaprint and just started checking out logos. And I spoke with my close ones. I'm like, hey, what are your thoughts about this? What would you think? And yeah, I showed them designs and stuff before I went fully with it, and everybody was like, I think they gave me the green light. I said, all right. So I started kicking that off, and I was just literally working out of my bedroom at that point, the bedroom / kitchen, because until I get a um, an actual brick and mortar facility or an actual shop set
Yeah.
up, um, it's hard to be able to host somebody per se as far as handle repairs and stuff, because it becomes a hassle. Say for instance, we go outside and I can have a table set up and I can have all my tools there, but like dealing with the environment or dealing with some having somebody questioning your competence in some situations where you're just like, hey, this should be good, and you're like, nah, I don't like that, and I'm like, not about how you like it, it's about how it works. But sometimes you can't fix broken, and you can duct tape the heck out of it though.
Yeah.
And but say it's kind of led me into Henderson guitar repair, and so I've been doing that now for here we are 3 years. Um, for me it's a full time thing. As I'll buy sell trade of my gear and music stuff. Um, I wind up purchasing. I try to make things better because I guess what I could say is, as I was taught, it's like kind of an old Indian tradition. It's like you leave things better than the way you found it,
Yeah.
or than what you know. So and in Boy Scouts we would say leave no
I
trace.
was gonna say that's a Boy Scout thing too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's to anybody that's not under any awareness of the Boy Scouts. Um, when you go camping, and we go camping, if it was a leave no trace, like essentially you would hold the habit of when you go camping, you would leave that campground without a trace of your
Presents.
presence. Yeah, good. Thank you. I'm sorry, the word was not wording for me, and
Happens to me all the time.
or the brain is not braining correctly. Um, but so we would leave it better than the way you found it, and so I started picking up these broken guitars, and I'm like, oh well, there's a market here. And I'm seeing my time over at Guitar Center and all this experience just like roll together like downhill like a snowball effect, right?
Yeah.
The more I learn, the more the speed builds up, and the more the business picks up. And I'm not gonna uh, shut down any business per se, but to the point where you know what you can handle and what doesn't seems beyond repair. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so you can take on those challenges. And when I purchase one personally, if I can fix it and overcome a challenge, that's that strike of gratification. You're like, yes, all right, reward myself for that one, right? Um, just because I put it this way, I like to challenge myself
Yeah.
constantly. And one of these older conversations that was had in the Guitar Center days, I would speak to a lot of people, and I would speak to a lot of veterans, and a lot of them, old and young, would be being pointed in the direction of music, and it's by their therapist, and it's because or it's from their own fascination and want to learn. But in some facts, like later on, like even this older gentleman, like 85 years old, the same guy that says, never changed my strings in my life. I served in the military, blah, 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 and I've owned this guitar for this long. Um, I know I'm competent in there, but I do know that's where I don't understand it. And it worries me, and I don't want to screw that up. And I respect that. Um, but he would say like, my my physical therapist said, and the older ones would say, my physical therapist said that it would be good for my brain function. And you dig deep into it, and music, not just music, we'll say sound and frequency, but we're just going to simplify it right now and say music. Okay. Music and learning music, or listening to, or but more so learning the art of music, wherever you are, instrument wise or vocal, is it does something to the brain, and it works one part of the brain and the other part at the same time, because you're working patterns where you're, whatever your hands are doing are remembering and repeating patterns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the mind is doing whatever it's doing as your, because as they would say, marching band would be the most, what they say, the most mentally straining, or is it, I'm sorry, it's because music and marching, because your movement,
I was gonna say you're
and
moving
the play,
at a certain
yeah,
pace,
and then you're challenging your brain to remember, because so with marching band you have to memorize, if you're not aware, you have to memorize all of the songs that you're about to play, all of them, and whatever instrument you're playing them on. So if you played on 2 instruments, you got to learn them on both those instruments. Then you have to test them with your section leader on those songs,
mm-hmm.
and segments, and they say, hey, we're going to challenge you this part, and you're like, you got to remember exactly where it is. You almost have to shut your eyes and just kind of, some folks have it, some folks don't, but you're able to just like recall that phrase or that section. And that was what, like I said, marching band, to be in band or music, and then of course the marching band part, that's a whole, that's the most complex part of that, because band and music in itself is already complexity, and to learn it is an entire experience. But to learn it and then also perform memorized movements and locations, because your eyeballs are matching these things. You're walking on a field,
Mm-hmm.
football field. You got the numbers, and you've got to remember where you are among 300 people at 500 different points in time.
Mm-hmm.
And you're playing through the whole point. So from point A to point B, I need to hear. Point B to C, I need to be here. And then at some other point, I'm all the way on the other side of the field. Then some other point, I'm all the way to the sideline, and then back on the other sideline. I mean, there was very extravagant stuff.
Oh yeah.
Somewhere it felt like we called it a 4 to 5. Okay, and you would have 4 steps to cover 5 yards. So when you're running, you can almost do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about like running down the
sure.
strip, okay, and that's pretty much how the segment goes. We would time it to how many steps you would have to take to get to that location. So sometimes it would be you're only moving, like I'm only moving 8 or maybe 28 inches, and it's like forward and to the right a little bit, and then so I've got to find a way to make a minute and a half stretch out to little bitty tiny steps all the way to that point, right? Because I've got to stretch it out, or vice versa. I got to go a long ways in a short amount of time. And in that short amount of time, you're even 3 to 5.
Yeah.
You would take those 3 to 5 steps. So I played saxophone, and if you're not familiar, saxophone, you gotta have the mouthpiece in your mouth the whole time. And you got a piece of wood that you're blowing into,
Mm-hmm.
that your tongue's really close to the whole time, but your lips are pressed against it. And you're basically doing a duck call the whole time, right? The fingers change the notes. And so as you're doing that, the more you move at all is like suspension,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're bouncing, and it can affect the note, the air
Oh yeah.
traveling through the. So you have to perfect this to a point where you're playing the note fully. So the way that you're graded is movement and clarity. So they're listening for every note to be played and like the judges, they got the whole thing in front of them. They're watching the map and they're watching the race. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they're watching every single runner, and they're like, oh, no, that one's off course. That one's not running fast enough. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
And oh, that's a wrong note. You know, of course, the wrong note sticks out like a sore thumb. Okay, I've seen a wrong note make people cry. No kidding. And we won't talk about the fragility of any male or female because it happened on both. But state when you're in Texas and you're doing a state competition for marching band, and you're trained in this at this point. Your brain is locked. You've memorized everything. This is the final. This is the final. This is the finals, right? You're against the top, at this point, it's like top 20, 25, or 15 of the state. And you're like, oh, it's us and the big dogs. We're out of Cleburne, Texas, little bitty nowhere. Yeah. We were still 4A. And this was before the whole renovation, because now it's I look at the high school now, it doesn't even look like the same building.
Yeah, it's completely different.
You remember it falling apart? Did you remember the science wing?
So I didn't actually go to the high school except because I graduated from Covington.
Oh yeah.
But I had to go take my SATs and stuff there, and I do remember it was not the greatest.
Oh yeah.
Not the greatest building in the world. But.
Oh yeah, that's where it was like, wow, man. I want to high five whoever did the renovation there, because that was a really good job. Because at that point we're still training on, it's basically blacktop. Okay, so where the football team would practice by the high school, there's an AstroTurf field, and then right next to it was an asphalt block that was the entire length of a football field plus the sidelines. So that way the band could literally recreate what they're doing, exact step by step and place to place without having to change it up or
yeah, for sure, because that makes
close
sense.
It off. Yeah. So this was a very interesting concept. I've never dealt with this before. So marching band was just wow. At this point. Yes, it was an interesting thing. You learn a lot of, I'm new in high school. This is my freshman year. Just, you get the walkthrough, and you meet all the people that are older than you. Now in marching band, you learn your, as you'd call them, superiors. You would get seniors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the freshmen in the band would call them fishies. And I was a fishy. And at one point, a senior would basically draw straws, and they would say, hey, I got so-and-so's name. And I'd be like, hi, I'm so-and-so. And so they're like, hey, this is my duty to kind of help you out anytime you're having a hard time. I'm going to kind of give you the basics of school and high school and this, culture and all this. And if you need anything like a ride or something, I have my license, and because they're 18.
Yeah.
Most of them are 18, right? They're seniors in high school, or it's their senior year. Now as it goes, I become that senior, have freshmen, so on and so forth, and it was a good experience because it was a nice little community, a little family, because sports, there was camaraderie, and I enjoyed that. That was between baseball or football or basketball. It was all interesting, but it was all in the same manner, like we're competing against each other, and it wasn't so much, hey, I'm here to help and learn and be a part of the thing, as it is, I want to be the best, and I need to take time away from you to show that I'm better. It's like, no, it's just learn your part, learn the thing. It's almost like routine and discipline.
Yeah.
You learn a sense of it, because I was terrible. I was late to everything. I'll probably be late to my own funeral. Okay. You can ask everybody. I was almost late to this. No. But the punishment for being late would be, depending on the minutes, however many minutes you are late, you had to do that times 10 push-ups. Well, as I was pretty petty as a kid, as a high schooler, and I didn't really care for authority either. So I really didn't have anything kind to say sometimes when people would tell me what to do. And then when they told me something to do and somebody wouldn't want me to do it, and then I'd want to prove it out of spite just to say, okay, well, I did it. I'm going to be late tomorrow. What are you going to do about it? Well, you're going to do push-ups tomorrow. Okay. Well, I'm going to times 100 then. Okay. I'm just going to sit here through the whole practice doing push-ups, and you're just going to be mad at me because I'm not learning my part.
Right.
So, come on, like, well, which one of us is going to give first, okay? And eventually, I was just like, okay, bend a little bit. I don't need to be such a dick. Sorry. I don't need to be such a pain in the butt. And eventually, learn to accept and you move along and work towards a greater good, to a common purpose. And that's whenever you get to that moment where you're at state and you've been working for this for 3 years, and it's not even the show that you want to do, but it's a show, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, oh, this isn't even the music I wanted to play, but this is the music. The music I wanted to go to state to was Santana. Okay, that was it, buddy. I didn't want to go for Red. We were like, why are we doing this communist fascist agenda? Like, why are we playing music from China and Russia and Cuba? Well, we could have been playing Santana. Okay. Not at all. Shout out to Santana, who might or may not be one of the greatest guitar players of all time. But cheers. So we go as far as learning all that from music and gaining all that experience. You take a lot of that in through your later life, like you want to create discipline in your life, because nowadays it's so easy to get distracted by stuff like your phone.
100%.
Like, and I'll ask you a question, okay? I didn't ask you this earlier, so we're just going to be top of the head a question, okay? How often do you find yourself grabbing for your phone when you don't have to?
Oh, dude, it happens all the time.
Just like have a second.
All the time. It's like, as soon as it's a point where I'm just, sitting at the doctor's office or just sitting around waiting for something, it's
just
immediate.
Like grabbing, like, where's it at?
So I have a timer set on my phone where I can only be on like Facebook and X and all that stuff for like 1 hour a day through all of it. Like, so I get 1 hour a day of social media and that's it.
That's not a bad idea, because I thought that was a goofy thing seeing whenever I'd program a new phone. And I'm like, man, who needs that? And then here I am, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I've been trying to go to sleep for the last 4 hours. And here I am, and I'm like, which we'll go into we'll go into a safe rabbit hole here in a moment. Is that such a thing? And as you're scrolling, you're doing the endless, I call it the doom scroll, okay? We call it doom scrolling because your brain it's not registering what you're seeing. You're just seeing the pictures, and you'll stop at anything that looks somewhat appealing.
Right.
It could be a hot dog. It could be a steak on a grill. It could be a cold beer or a guitar. Just whatever fancy puppies. But it's your algorithm. How they program everything to work in and to learn about your
what makes you tick.
Yes, and learn your routines. And so that's a very interesting thing. So without going too far into it, we can say that there have been moves by states to sue for harm and negligence towards the youth.
I just heard something about that yesterday.
Oh, yes.
Well, what's kind of funny, I got a PayPal thing today that said I got paid like $6 and some change, and it had to do with Facebook. I had no idea where it came from. I don't know why I got $6 and some change, but there was some lawsuit that went out there or I got some random money today because they did something with it. Had something to do with privacy. I haven't got a chance to look up why I got that yet.
Privacy.
But I was like, that's kind of weird. But yeah, setting that thing on my phone, I ignore it and give it myself 15 minutes every now and then here and there, you know. But
I do day trading, so sometimes like
it's kind of crazy.
I
I
pick up
reach
the
through
phone,
my phone and
until
then,
about 5 p.m. occasionally because I want to see what my stocks are at. You know, I don't know anybody invests out there. But like if you're a day trader, right? Like for myself, I don't have a lot of assets. I just have small, and I'm moving small amounts, right? But it's just you want to be aware and be able to just kind of keep an eye on things because used to you could watch something like a TV. You get something that's giving you a live feed of something without a delay. Like maybe your 5 minute delay, depending on your time zone, and it would update, and you're like, okay, well, this is where we're at. It's safe. But nowadays, you with the phone, right? It's they draw you more and more to, hey, I have an app for that. Hey, you have trouble keeping yourself off the phone. There's an app for that. Oh, you have trouble keeping time. There's an app for that. And then it's like, what? Why so many apps? I don't need an app for everything. And it's like, no, but we need that app for everything, and you got to fill your part. And it just runs into when. And I believe it's California right now. California has moved, and France and parts of the UK actually have moved to sue Facebook and Meta due to harm and negligence to children.
yeah.
Because, and it's not just children, by the way, it's all of us. But as it started out little by little, it wasn't an issue. Facebook was just a page you could leave open and check later, like in the day, and you're like, oh, I got 14 messages. Well, I'll get to them.
Yeah.
Not immediately.
anymore.
Now it's like, oh, you have a message, you need to get to it immediately. And I'm like, nah, I do the thing where it's like ignore or cancel. Like just, I'm reading out my notifications, clear all, and I'll address them later. Whenever I go through that, it's throwing it more often. It's like, hey, here's it shows a notification like a symbol that I'm not familiar with, and I'm like, what is that symbol? And it says, oh, blah 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 is running in the background and needs to be closed. I never opened that.
It's pretty wild too that I've noticed. Like, so if you send me a Facebook reel or something like that, and I don't check it, it'll be like, hey, 12 hours ago, DJ sent you a message. Hey, DJ sent you like 3 messages. Like, 12 hours ago. Why haven't you checked it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, and the marketplace, if you're familiar with the marketplace, sometimes you send a message on marketplace, you won't hear anything for months. I won't hear anything from that person that you're interested in getting that item from. And then all of a sudden it's like 5 messages, and it's spread out through weird times. And you're like, did they just respond, or is this just now like they got to a location where they have signal where it's sending and receiving now, sending those packets of information. But to the point where you're again drawn to that phone, and it's like, oh well, I've got notifications. Why? I've got 5 notifications that people added things near me on Facebook Marketplace. I don't care. That's not the things that I'm looking at. What is? And it's like, I'm like, I have items for sale, right? I have personal items that I sell on my personal account, and that are all working condition as is, as they should be. And whenever I'll receive a message, sometimes it's like days before a good response. So I make it a habit to thank, to show my gratitude towards anyone, whether the deal goes good or bad, but to show your gratitude regardless for the time that they take out of their day to say, oh yeah, I read this and I'm responding immediately or within a, I'd say an allowable amount of time, or an acceptable amount of time. But then you run onto the ends of the bad apples. We all get bad apples, so we just gotta toss them out so they don't spoil the rest of them. and take it up as new experiences.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but as that is, like, we've been doing some cool guitars, man. Like, so there is a band I've been doing some work on their instruments. A Scarlet Reminder.
Right.
This is a local band. They were in the emo core genre back in the 2000s, whenever we were younger, and now they're still in the same genre, but they all kind of stopped for a bit because they all had children and families that they were raising, and then they kind of came back. So I got a call, like, months ago, like probably last year now. It says, "Hey, got an idea. I got, can you check these instruments out for me?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool." And so I'd have some people sometimes hit me up, and they'd be like, "Hey, I got this off a marketplace, or I bought this from the store.
Yeah.
Can you give it a once over, and tell me if it needs anything?" I'm like, "Yeah, cool." I do a diagnostic, and it's just like I take it in its current state and I test it, and if it tests all nominal, it gives me the right readings. Ain't anything wrong with it. It's a diagnostic fee. But if I've got to open up the back and start soldering things, there we go into repairs. But you start getting into a little deeper and deeper into some of these guitars. Had some really cool LTDs along the lines. Had a really beautiful Breedlove guitar come through. That was the Atlas series. Ooh, that was nice. It was the saddle through strings. Okay, so the saddle sits on top of the body, right, or the bridge, and the strings go through the wood itself of the saddle instead of through the body of the guitar. Like all the rest of them are what they call top loaded, and it was beautiful. Of course, Breedlove. If you've never played a Breedlove guitar,
I have not. No.
You played a Taylor guitar.
Oh yeah.
So so Breedlove is actually one of the engineers from Taylor,
Okay.
and they took on their own build and design, and came up with the Breedlove series. And they have affordable stuff, but they also have really extravagant, and we're talking like 8 to 10 grand for some of these things. And anyways, this is a beautiful guitar, and when you play it, the best way I could say is it very much mimics a Taylor guitar in the ring, but it almost has a little bit more mid-range and low-end clarity and presence than Taylor does, but not anywhere near Gibson or Martin, okay, or Yamaha. As far as, like, if you're playing a dreadnought, same dreadnought, right? A dreadnought next to a dreadnought of the same brands, Taylor, Martin, Yamaha. We'll say the big guys: Taylor, Gibson, and Martin. Okay, for right now, you play those. Taylor's going to have the most mid-range and high-end presence, but Gibson and Martin are going to be more low-end. Like, I call them strumming, really good strumming guitars for that low zoom zoom. Sound, that tones, like the Johnny Cash and the Waylon, right? And then you look at Taylor, and Taylor's so bright, and then you got Breedlove, and you play the same chord on the same guitars, or like with the groups of guitars, and you'll hear the presence of, like, I call it a tail. Like, when there's a term in reverb, okay, where there's like a shimmering tail, where you play the note and it almost just like the note decays, okay, but that tone is still present, and it's just like making it the best way I could probably explain this with, like, Blink-182 or Angels in Airwaves. Okay, Angels in Airwaves, that would be the best way to do it. You'd hear the guitar riffs in Angels in Airwaves, and you'd hear a light little, it almost sounds like a keyboard tap, like after the guitar note plays, that it follows.
Yeah.
And it's just like bing,
Rings a little
bing,
longer.
yeah, with a little, and it's a very pleasant sound. One day I'll bring some pedals when we do a jam session, and I'll just let you, because to until you experience like what tones do what. Coming from a guy that never like from the DJ that worked at Guitar Center, or I'm sorry, coming from the DJ before he worked at Guitar Center to the DJ now, there are libraries of information that reside in my brain now.
I can imagine, because dude, I remember when I was like playing all the time and stuff like that. Like, just go to Guitar Center, even if I didn't have any money, and just go and like kind of like with a bandmate or something like that, or just somebody, and just go jam, you know, and just pick up a guitar that I haven't played before.
They can't kick you out as long as you're not and I'll say this, okay? Love you guys. If you are not being profane and you're not threatening or hassling customers, they will not kick you out. Now, also, there is the rule. There is the no playlist. Okay, I don't know if you're aware of this.
No,
so there's a common law known along guitar music shops that you remember that iconic scene in Wayne's World.
I was just about to say that. It was like No Stairway to Heaven.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. It was that. Okay, so imagine, okay, you go in and you start playing. Now there's a list of songs that you're not allowed to play. In almost every, there's supposed to be a list of songs you're not allowed to play in every music store, and it's almost like how every seller or cashier sales has to have their they have to have a certificate on the wall that says, hey, we're allowed to do sales transactions for monies and tax purposes, blah blah blah. That's exactly this. Okay, so the list goes Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin, okay? Unforgiven by Metallica, okay? In Bloom by Nirvana.
Really?
I think it's Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. There was and there's like 3 others that I'm drawing a blank on right now because it's like 9 or 10 of them. Okay, but it's as the culture is songs that you don't want butchered.
Yeah.
Right. So and just for context, okay, imagine you walk into a music store and it's the biggest music store in the area, and it's around Christmas time. We'll say in between. Before Thanksgiving and before Christmas, okay? So it's around here, it's around the cold time, and you have everybody on winter break, okay? All moms and dads are taking all their kids out to go buy guitars and basses and keyboards and stuff. And they all show up, all 85, 95 of them show up to the same store, and they start plugging into the guitars. And it starts out 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it gets you 10, 15, 20. Then at one point, you have no more amps to plug people into safely, okay? Now, if you've never been a part of it, there's a struggle that goes on. Besides the sanity of the people that work there, there's also the struggle of you having to essentially fight for your sound, okay? So imagine you and I are playing guitar across from each other. Oh, I like that part. I'm going to turn mine up a little bit.
I already know where you're going. Yeah.
And then they turn up there a little bit. They turn there a little bit. The next thing you know, I'm pulling my freaking hair out at Christmas time. Just like, it's one of those moments. But in that position, like you actually got to maintain your.
No, I completely get that.
I got a face. I got my sales face. It's like, I'm a nice guy in sales, but I'll be a dick if I have to. But so I eventually learned that earplugs, man's best friend. Okay. At this time, I was also dealing with at the time the gal I was dating had a child. So it's brand new newborn. Okay, so if anybody's familiar with that newborn, yeah, the first fucking 3 months or 4 months of that, I found out that those earplugs were multi-purpose. Guess what? I can put them in my ears while I'm sleeping at home too. I'm patting the baby. I don't care if he's crying. He's safe.
Right.
He ain't wet. He's already fed. He's good to go. Anyway, but I started paying attention to little things in the environment, and it's like overlooking things that are underestimated and showing respect and reverence where it's due. Like this process, bro. Like you did such a good job here. Like I remember when you first reached out to me and said, "Hey, this is an idea, and I'm not quite positive how it's gonna go." And I was like, "I know you got it, and if you need help, I got you." And you go, "Just so happens I met a guy that knows what he was doing. Good job, by the way. You did a great job."
Yeah, he's helped me out quite a bit, man. I'm still trying to make it better.
Yeah, it
every
looks
single
good.
month.
And it can always, baby steps. I always tell my neighbor this, baby steps.
Yeah.
We're in a hard project. We're in something that we're busting our heads against, and it's just like take a moment. It's like, hey, you gotta step back, and it's a life example here. Take a step back always, and you gotta appreciate little things because really, it's the little things in life that matter most. In your relationship, it's the little things. It's the way you can't stand the way that they drive you mad. But guess what? If they didn't drive you mad, you'd be bored as hell. So you got to be grateful for that.
There, that's a solid point.
And I mean, it's vice versa because we drive them mad too. So I'm not going to say we're completely innocent there, but we drive them mad to certain points like that. They're glad that they have us because they'd be pretty bored too,
I
So
guess
you got
I
to
keep my wife on her toes then.
I would imagine she's been on her toes for quite some time. I think she's finally now back on her feet though. She's getting that rest and taking a breather, and she's like, never again. No, she's a good lady, and and everything that y'all have done as far as raising the son and him becoming a heck of a guitar player, and up to like you've become more of a confident guitar player, a singer, more so vocalist nowadays than
I only play in the.
we broke you past that. I don't want to sing. Fucking sing, bro. We got you.
I'll sing. I
Yeah.
play my 4 chords and sing still.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really play as much as I used to. So my guitar it's probably annoying a little bit, but
What's wrong with? Oh, you mean you're playing right
it's
now?
my
Like if you're playing?
Yeah, if I'm playing, it's not as good as it used to be.
How's your hand, by the way? Because I remember that you were having an issue with your.
Yeah, I had a bicep issue. That was weird, man, trying to play with that because I couldn't really lift my arm the way I needed to. So I was like using my shoulder to strum.
Oh yeah,
and that was
the Tim
weird.
Armstrong style.
Yeah,
If anybody's reminiscent, Tim Armstrong from Rancid or Operation Ivy, he was the guy that played left-handed semi-hollow guitar, and he had the most. It was clean tone. Okay, I'll say it was clean tone, but it was the most disgusting clean tone you would hear, like plank, 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 and I'm like, oh, that was enjoyable. But it's also listening to like the Beach Boys nowadays, and you hear the little guitar, some of the bits, and you're like, oh, that's cool. Oh, okay. Oh, that was terrible. What are you playing? So again, to reach back to my buddy Brent over at Guitar Center, I would ask him some things, and he goes, some of the times, I kid you not, he would say, it was a bad string. And I was like, that's how they got that weird sound? He goes, yeah, it was a bad string. They just left it on there because it was such an interesting and unique
it had a
tone.
cool sound.
Yeah. So by fun
wild.
fact, by the way, do you know? And I can't remember his name correctly, but there was a country music artist back in the 50s, 60s, and he created fuzz.
Really,
the fuzz sound, right? Well, he was playing, and they were getting that weird. It was a long time ago when you would record a guitar through this line. It would be muddy. It would be like I'm talking like this, okay? And I'm doing this on purpose so that way they can kind of. But this would be the pickups back in the day. This is the pickups nowadays. You can hear everything really crisp and clear. And so back in the days, you had this muddy, standoffish type of recording style, and you couldn't pick up the sound of the guitar. And so he's like, oh, what can I do to it? And he wound up like it had busted. the speaker had busted because he'd been recording for so many hours straight at this point. And so he wound up like punching a hole in the thing because he was just tired of it, and then plugged it in and played it, and it created this weird tone that helped create and shape the thing for Norman Greenbaum's Spirit in the Sky, right?
Oh,
that,
wow.
With that nasty fuzz that sounds like it's paper ripping, right? So I'm a guitar nerd. I like the things, and I like the instruments and the tones and the stuff. And you give me a fuzz that sounds like it's from another world, and I will give you the right praise. Like Pigtronics. Ooh, man, that was a nasty fuzz that they had. Right now, I got one on my board called the Swollen Pickle. It's by Way Huge. It's the Way Huge Swollen Pickle, and it's dirty.
No, man, that's funny because back in the day, when I was like playing all the time and stuff, and finding the sound, and I started getting fascinated by all the
different sounds,
all
bro.
the different sounds, and then learning the pickups, learning this, learning that, and it was a lot. It was very overwhelming.
It still is.
Yeah, I can imagine
It's
now
still training
with
to this
all
day.
the technology and everything. Man, there's just so much. There's so much, and man, it's just crazy all the different things that you could do.
Oh yeah, and we when in our adventures and in our, we'd say, quests, daily quests, in the music, we would look at certain things and overlook really a lot of stuff, and it would be simple things like maintenance, right? String changes can seem very intimidating at times, but string changes are not intimidating. I mean, you cut the string a little too short, you won't be able to use it. But as long as you don't cut it too short, you can keep trying, buddy. There are tips and tricks, like, we can go over a couple of them. Like, for a fact that guitars, acoustic guitars, right, require hydration. It's almost like a live tree, right?
Mm-hmm.
And without the proper hydration and or the moisture content, the moisture level, right? Without the right hydration, the guitar can become too dry. And the guitar is made of wood and glue, okay? If you don't get it, it's wood and glue, okay? There's like 6 screws holding the string tuning machine heads in place, but it's literally wood and glue holding that entire instrument together. And so in the matter of getting too dry, if it also it's typically hand in hand. If it's getting dry, it means it got hot.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in Texas, and one thing that it does is it gets hot. I made the mistake of leaving a guitar, and I'm probably not the only one. Left my guitar in my vehicle through the day, and came back, to retrieve it, mid-afternoon, early evening, and the thing was scorching hot. And later on, found out that it had got so hot that the string tension had therefore pulled the bridge from the body, because again, it's just wood and glue. And if it reaches, I found out, hard way, by the way, if your guitar can reach 140 degrees for too long, it will start like
just unraveling.
The binding agents and stuff, they start releasing, because it's almost like re-sweating it, and like to the point. A lot of them use hide glue, which or hot hide glue, which is most preferable. And to those of us in the DIY area, shout out, right? Tight Bond. Okay, if we can't afford, if they got hot hide glue, Tight Bond. Okay, so use original Tight Bond for most of the other things. Use Tight Bond 3 for anything that you want to keep, that's going to be exposed to the moisture. But typically, your basic original Tight Bond will do most of those jobs. And as I was underestimating these things and environments, I'm owning all these instruments and collecting them through the time, because every instrument has its own sound, right?
Mhm.
And I was doing the same thing. We call it tone chasing, okay? Chasing the tone.
Yeah.
And it's an ever-loving freaking rabbit hole, okay? That you could go. There's still not a bottom to that rabbit hole, by the way, so there's good luck.
I couldn't imagine that there is.
You could go to guitar effects, or is it, no, I'm sorry, effectsdatabase.com, and that would be the best way that I could that I would feel comfortable with guiding somebody in if I couldn't take you by your hand and take you to the store and show you what things do.
Mm-hmm.
This would be the next best thing. Would be guitar effects, or I'm sorry, effectsdatabase.com. And it's literally a forum of people that have cataloged these. Basically, it's anywhere from old ones to new ones. And boutique, what they call boutique nowadays is individual artists or individual craftsmen. Okay, so say JM started a pedal company or something. It would be, you'd just be JM Effects or whatever you wanted to name it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as these as it all goes, these are all switches. These are all things that run electricity that can become faulty. You know, sometimes that stuff fails on you, and all it takes is a resistor failing to pretty much compromise anything. But as each pretty much pedal does its own thing, and so like without saying, "Hey Joey, this is what you're looking for. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. Okay, this is okay. Here's a perfect setup for the song you want to play right here." You know, if you wanted to play, like for instance, we'll just throw it out there because it's the most relatable thing. Okay, say we were talking about guitar and we're like Jimi Hendrix. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Played on a Fender Stratocaster, okay? Played it left-handed. He played a right-handed guitar. He strung it left-handed. And the saddle, he reversed the saddle for left hand. And as he would play, he had a Dunlop fuzz pedal, which is what they call the fuzz face. It got the fuzz face name because it almost looks like a robot face, because there's a knob here. It's like a knob here, and then the stomp, the activation, right? Momentary switch is at the bottom. So it almost looks like the way that they colored it, it's a circle.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's just a V, and it's a black V, and it's blue on the side, or well, different colors, right? But the specific one would be blue with the black symbol in the side, black knobs. And it almost looks like the knobs are the eyes, and that the switch is the mouth. And that's why they called it a fuzz face, because it almost just like,
Looks
it was a fuzz face. And then there was the wah pedal. You know, he would have a wah pedal, because essentially it was just that. I mean, there was a phaser or a flanger. I get them confused. I'm dyslexic. It's allowed. So phaser and flanger, they can be similar. One changes the tone from wet to dry, and then the other one kind of gives you your left to right. And I think phase is that kind of right, and flanger's like just like back and forth. Kinda.
Yeah, I got you.
And if you do flanger just right, it can almost mimic a wah-wah or a tremolo. If you do it just right and speed up the effect and turn the decay all the way down, it turns into a tremolo, because it's gonna, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So an interesting fact. But as those pedals, each one serves its own purpose, and you can follow lots of instrumentalists. But like, say we were going and we were looking for Jimi Hendrix setup, they would basically, you'd be able to go to, you can look at a rig rundown, or you could look it up however you research. Guitar Effects Database is a good way to go, where you would essentially, you're like, okay, I want to see what this fuzz face pedal that they're talking about. Where can I find one? And because say you got you got the phase, you're like, I want to go through my phase. Got me a Stratocaster. Now it's time to play some Jimmy. Or in this, we'll say in location relevant, Stevie Ray Vaughan, okay? Because that's where it's at. You got Jimmy and Stevie, and they pretty much played on a Stratocaster with a Ibanez tube screamer, okay? And that's an underrated pedal, by the way. That's a like $75 pedal that has been good enough for Stevie Ray Vaughan.
That man could play guitar, though.
That man, you know what kind of strings that guy played on?
No, I do not.
You know what his smallest, the high E string,
What?
the little bitty string was? It was like a 13 or a 14.
Really?
Yeah. Do you know what a 13 or 14 typically is the string for?
What's that?
It's like your G or B string.
No kidding.
Could you imagine bending that high string?
Man.
Now you
that's nuts.
you got your tremolo arm doing the thing, but your tremolo arm, as it's a fulcrum, a two-way fulcrum system, it's only allowed to go like half a step down, half a step up, at most maybe one step. Now you get your Floyd Rose and the headless stock guitars with those Floyd Rose or Floyd Rose special type. They call them floating tremolos.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can do what would they in the rock and metal community would consider the dive bombs or dime squeals, where you everybody does it from of course Dimebag Darrell, but Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, one of my favorites, Paul Gilbert, underrated guy right there. And another one, okay, probably nobody ever listens to is Guthrie Govan. Probably just butchered his name. It's Guthrie Govan, and he has the this band called the Aristocrats. Okay, it's a 3-piece band. You're gonna love it. Okay, 3-piece band: drummer, bassist, guitar player. No vocals. No vocals. No wordies. No words. And these guys have, okay, now on the drums is Marco Miniman. And if you're not familiar, Marco Miniman would be what we would call a prodigy. Okay, prodigy being behind the kit. This guy makes Stuart Copeland look mediocre. Okay, like the guy from, the guy from The Police or Genesis. Both, I think both. Followed Sting around.
I was going to say,
band,
Sting guy.
And anyways, so Marco Miniman on the drums, fantastic. Okay, and then Guthrie Govan, if you ever hear him play guitar, but that will make you feel good. He has the ability. Okay, he can make the guitar talk. You'd hear the term back in the day. Can you make it cry? Can you make it laugh? Okay, and that's like, you hear it in the songs because they've had it, and you could, I guess the most notably one that I could think of the top of my head would be Dire Straits, "Money for Nothing," or no, not "Money for Nothing." Oh gosh, Sultans of Swing. How could I forget that?
Okay.
How could I forget well, you could just bonk me on the head next time and say it's that song, buddy. So Sultans of Swing, you can hear the guitar when it cries or sings. He does the effects where you're almost like, wow, he really just did make that guitar cry and sing, or laugh. It's a personality. Later on, I would learn the term voicing is what some folks in the music scene would call guitar parts. And voicing would typically be that part that you would take over the vocals, or in a piano. Like it's taking the lead melody, right? So that's your voicing. And when you get these guys like the Aristocrats, okay, so you got Brian Bellamy, okay, this guy toured with with Death Clock, which is the if you watch Adult Swim back in the days. Do you remember like when Aqua Teen Hunger Force and all that came out?
Oh, yeah.
You remember Metalocalypse? You remember the crazy metal band? Okay, he's the touring bassist for that band. They Okay, context. Metalocalypse is a Adult Swim TV show brought to you by Brendan Smalls. Brendan Smalls is a producer from Home Movies and also created the solo band or solo project, I would call it, Galacticon, and which is really good if you like concept albums, like these guys, Mastodon, Lamb of God. You know how they keep their albums kind of tied together in purpose or in their theme. That's where I'm going with it. So they would do the same. Now, that being said, great. That's a whole other genre right there. But we're going back to Bellamy's three-piece. Okay. So Brian Bellamy is the bassist of the three-piece, Guthrie Govan, guitar player, and then Marco Miniman, drummer. And between the three of them, when I say like their timing is just it makes the heart and the brain happy how well things are put together. It's like looking at a wonderful piece of art and you actually get it.
Yeah.
And it's not so abstract that you're just like, am I not getting this? Is this just a banana on a wall with duct tape? You know? No reference, sorry. It was just a thing. And when listening to it, you'd hear each one gets a solo. Okay, it's almost like jazz. Everybody gets a solo, and they're just jamming till the end. But when you have the great timing of it, it's almost like, did they mean to do that? So one day I was bored working at Guitar Center, and for a long time, okay, this went on. We'd put up, we'd have a spare computer that's, of course, open and working, but we'd pull up a YouTube channel and we just like put it on a playlist, and whoever was doing receiving or shipping duties for the day kind of got the radio per se. Now, Guitar Center had their own given corporate radio stations, but we didn't really like any of that music. That was terrible. Like that was music that you would like to jump off of tall buildings to listen to, and enjoy it on the way down. All the way to the end. Anyway, so as it was, we're in the music store, and I'm like, I work better with vibe, okay? I don't know about you, like when you're out and about, like doing stuff around the house, I like to have tunes going, just something ambient. I don't have to focus on the words or know the song. I just want something to kind of keep a tempo. Washing dishes, mowing the lawn, weed eating, doing the guitar work at Guitar Center, wherever I'm at, right? So at this point, Guitar Center, I got it going. And we've got, at Guitar Center, of course, we've got some shop-used monitors. Monitors, if you're not familiar with it, not the screen type monitors. We're talking speaker monitors, left side, right side audio. So these things are specifically made for playing music back professionally, I guess, without limitation. And so just jam, right? And so if you were to turn up your monitors, they would sound super clean because they're not both putting out the same output. Like it's not all the same right side guitar one. It's split. You got right side guitar one on, or you got guitar right side one or guitar one right side. You got bass right side, and then the drums are like on left side shared with guitar two, and some but they're so clear, and so you can pump those things and let them go for a little, right? And back there, really didn't have to worry about it. The other side of me, aside from a wall, was the drum section. And you could tell that the drum section gets loud. Now, we had a really cool, some great instructors that worked out there. Guitar Centers offered lessons. And if you're not familiar with that, I feel like this is a promo for this old place that I worked at. I'm sorry, I had a lot of experiences. I'm sorry, y'all. But this would be the end of those Guitar Center experiences. I met a lot of good instructors, and they taught me a lot of interesting stuff. For guitar, There was a wonderful instructor, and he guided me in the direction of I hit a roadblock. I learned my pentatonic scales, and I thought I was heads, and I thought I was leaps and bounds ahead of everybody. Because when I showed you a pentatonic scale, you were like, "Whoa, can you show me that again? That works with almost every song." And I said, "Yeah." And then I realized it didn't work with every song. And then so I picked a brain, and I go, "Hey, if you were to choose," and so basically I bought, everybody buys a chord chart. So you spend a little bit more. I spent about $15 to $16 on a case copy, which is like it's more, it's a longer but not so wide. It's not like a book as it is like a pamphlet in a way, but it's the grimoire, the guitar grimoire. And it's a wonderful piece of literature, and it essentially brings mathematics and music theory together. Math is music. I'm not going to say it's not, because it is. Don't shoot me. Math. There's music there's math in music, and there's definitely music in math. The further you go, but the guitar grimoire would essentially lay it out there in the best way it could explain theory to you. And if you haven't taken music theory, I'm not giving it to you for free. So I'll just you'll learn as you can. YouTube is a wonderful example, but also you can find I can't remember the author's name, but he wrote all the grimoire series. So he did bass grimoire and guitar grimoire. But he does several sections, and one of them, the one that I bought, is for scales and modes. And scales and modes are basically the filling, right? Like we're taught the basics, the meat and potatoes. But this is like really I'd say the broth. This would be the broth. So what you're going to cook that meat and potatoes in. So however well you learn the broth, the better your meat and potatoes are going to taste. Does that make sense?
No, it does. That makes perfect sense.
I don't know. That's the first time I used that analogy.
Well,
very nice.
For a simpleton like me, it makes sense.
Hey. But it's a very it's a wonderful concept. So if you go in and you look, I would suggest, if I had a suggestion, pick up whatever instrument you're playing and challenge yourself. Say, hey, I want to learn a mode, and then pick. There's like 7 or 11 different modes. Oh man, I'm gonna say it wrong, so we might have to just cut it. But it's like
I ain't cutting it.
It's
it's fine.
You have essentially American style music would be your harmonic major, would be your pentatonic scales, right? If you did outside of that, you could go Mixolydian, Phrygian, Ionian. More words. So, but you have all these different scales, and they basic themselves out of regions. So when you go into Lydian or Phrygian scales, you're going to sound more like wherever I may roam. Do you remember that guitar from that? And you're like, yeah, what is this? Yeah, that's not pentatonic scale.
I was going to say I couldn't give you any words on that one because I didn't have the words to give you. So I was like, you're over my head right now, but I'm definitely listening.
So I just think of that the bell, bang, 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 and then you're like, okay, what is that? And then he leads into it, and then the solo. Okay, yeah. But like the whole time I'm like, if anybody that's ever played guitar along with the music they're listening to, okay, could you just imagine holding your guitar there for a second, and one hand is holding the pick, the other hand's holding the fretboard, and you're just, how do I do that? And then you try, and then you're like, Different tuning. What is this? Okay. Yeah, there's different tunings too.
Yeah.
And those are which, by the way, very fun to test out with different instruments, because for instance, folk instruments are tuned to a certain key, our instruments are tuned to a certain key, and then classical instruments are tuned to a certain key. But once you break out of those traditional, then you start getting the wonky stuff like 6 or 7 string bass.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't think it was necessary that a bassist would need more than 4 strings. And then they put the double string for 4 string where it's like 8 strings, but they're tied together almost like have you ever played a 12 string?
Yeah, I played
they buddy up those strings pretty much. So it's like it's 12 strings, but you're in the 6 places. So it's not just like spread out 12. You're like, oh, you can get all of them pretty much. No, this is 8 strings doubled up like that, in a bass style. And man, when I say like I got a callus from just test playing the thing. Like I play guitar a lot, play a lot of instruments a lot, but I picked up that thing and I pressed the frets down just to play like 2 or 3 notes. So when you buy in a guitar, right, you would essentially pick it up and you test all the frets. Okay, you test all the electronics to make sure it works, and then you make your bid or make your offer. So I got to test everything, make sure it works, or else it didn't do my job. And so I'm testing. I'm like, God dang, you got to have monster hands, like monster mitts to play this thing. Like, you got to have the little Hulk hands, just yeah. Or freaking, Tony Stark's robot Iron Man arm to be able to grip that thing. But that's, you start seeing these things, and then you see this Latin American instruments start coming through, because Fort Worth is multicultural. Huge, okay? A massively multicultural
area.
Region.
Yeah,
area. That whole area. Yeah. And so we would see typically like you wouldn't, and then it got to the point where you did. And you're like, all right, so we're buying these things in now. So, but I didn't know of any. I thought all guitars were guitars. I thought all classical guitars were classical guitars. I didn't know there was a Bava Cinto, Sexto, up the list to, I can't pronounce them all, but they're basically like the concert guitar that we see, but it's a little bit bigger belly, like wider, and it kind of does a little belly, and then the horn is typically like pronounced, like almost. You remember how we used to joke about the boots, and like the taller the boot, like it comes up.
Yeah, for sure.
It gets to a point where your boot is just. I'm making a mess over here. I'm sorry. But yeah, that was stuff that you learn. So I'm sorry. We go back into maintenance and stuff. So if you were to check out like guitars and say you have an acoustic guitar and you want to say we're in Texas, right? It gets hot during the summer and it gets cold during the winter. So what do we do when it's cold? We crank up the heater. What is typically around the vents or louvers near the house, or hanging spots where the vents are, it's typically going to be those guitars.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize this until it was a problem at the store, where we were having multiple $1,000 instruments just drying out.
Oh, wow.
Where we call it fret spur, okay? And it's like you can run your fingers across the fretboard, okay? And you could feel the metal sharpness, like catch your fingertip,
okay,
from each fret. Not every fret, but just like when you go, you shouldn't feel anything. You should just feel that whatever is binding, or just it. But it would just catch, and it wouldn't be painful. Not typically. Some of them could be, but it would be annoying, and especially if you were to play chords back and forth in areas. So you would get fret spur real bad. And I've had this happen so many times to guitars that I've owned, guitars that the company had, guitars that clients owned. It's almost a 3-month process to basically breathe expose you. So it's an exposure process. You really have to bag it up and throw it in. We say that the easiest way to do it is anytime you take a hot shower, throw a towel under the door, let the humidity develop while you're taking the shower, and just leave the guitar in there with the strings loosened, and just let it soak that. If it's got fret, spur real bad, or it's dried out real bad body wise,
Yeah.
leave it in the corner of the shower. Not of course where there's dripping and running water, but like where you tuck a towel under the door and that hot water, the humidity builds in that room and creates that steam cloud. You want those vapors to kind of soak into that to that guitar because it's dry, and it won't soak it in if it's not necessary. Does that make sense? Like it will to a point, but it's not going to be like, oh no, now there's so much more.
Yeah, it's just gonna.
Now, granted, if you do expose it to too much moisture for too long, there's that other side of effect where it's mildew and soften and fall apart. I saw Takamine do that. I was like, oh man, a buddy told me, he goes, yeah, I got one and pulled it out of a blah, blah, blah. And I said, you probably have a treasure, bro. And so I get there and I look at it and he said, this is the one I'm talking to you about. And I'll get it. And I'm like, I reached to like check the string tuner or the tuning machine heads, and just to kind of see how their tension is, and see if it'll hold tension. And it did. Just barely moved it, and I could see the headstock just start like it started disintegrating. Like I touched it and it just stuff like flaked off, and I was like, oh, what is that? And he goes, oh yeah, it was in a really humid attic whenever I found it, and it was covered in mold, and I washed it, but I'm like, bro, no, burn this thing. Sorry, Takamine, but burn it. It's like, we don't need that around here. But the drying problem is a big issue. If you are going to store and put your guitar away, it is always beneficial to, or if you're selling it and transporting it or shipping it off, take it down take the tension down a bit. You don't have to take the strings completely off of there where things are falling apart. Just enough to where the neck is no longer holding that tension.
Yeah, for sure. I tell people too, like, hey, always, if you're just gonna keep your guitar hanging up on the wall, you're not gonna play it, like loosen the strings up.
Yeah,
so
just
a
little bit, because you can always tighten it back up.
Yeah, it's that the respect for the instrument. You know what I mean?
Now, granted, I am.
Hey, I'm gonna pause you real quick. We're back, guys.
There you go. Yeah, it's been a fun time. Thank you for having me. I'm going to set this guitar while I'm still talking.
No problem, man. Before you take off, again, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, to get some guitar work done and all that fun stuff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So if you need to get in touch with me, you can find me. I've got a Facebook page for the business, Henderson Guitar Repair, and typically I would have cards, but at almost bad timing, phone had crashed, lost the phone number, so all the cards that I had printed now are worthless because I don't have that phone number anymore. So and that goes for all the ones that I've already passed out to the 200 plus that possibly have them. I apologize. We've changed. The email is still the same. My Facebook is still the same, but my phone number has changed. So if you need to contact me, I primarily get contacted through Facebook. Messenger is the best way. Just because I have to sort through, it's like a filtering process.
Yeah, I understand.
And
let's everybody your email address.
You can reach me at doylehenderson85@gmail.com. And that is my personal email. And then as far as contact, I think the Facebook pretty much has most of it on there as far as updates, the things that I'm working on. I'll typically do a shout out because I prefer and get in the habit of take a picture of the guitar in its current shape when I get it, and then take a picture at the end of it after I get it, kind of like we did with your Alvarez,
Yeah.
and with the other guitars. But leave it better than I found it. Kind of like it's like a slogan,
Brother, you've always done a great job with mine. So
I appreciate it. I like
good
to.
hands.
It's a very fun. It's for me, it's very satisfying because like there's not a lot of knowledge about this culture these days. Guitar at one point was something cool to fascinate and be a rock star, but like same thing as like somebody wanted to be a race car, but they didn't want to learn how to work on the engine. I don't care how it runs. I'm just gonna drive the thing, right? So. As each one requires, some light maintenance and care. So, just remember during the wintertime when the heater's on, make sure your guitars aren't right next to the heater or the furnace or the fireplace. As many times as we have bonfires and fire pits outside and we're just doing jam sessions, right? I couldn't tell you how many times at Turkey Creek I would. Your hands are so cold wintertime, and you're trying to play chorded music, and you're just like, I got ice. I'll just have ice cubes for fingers right now.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And so, getting close to the fire to warm up and stuff, I didn't realize it had a major, drastic, I say, repercussions or, for those kinds of things, the extreme temperatures, until I started spending more time around that business. And then I started, and as I said, recognized it. And that's where I kind of drew my interest, and that's where we are today. So I see how all the corporations are kind of trying to take more money than is required. I just want to try to help you get it going because I'm more about keep the music in the creative process flowing, and don't bind it up by I'm having sound. My knobs are scratchy and it doesn't sound good, and it makes me upset whenever I play that guitar now. Now I'll never pick that guitar up because the knobs are scratchy.
Yeah.
And I won't plug it in, or the strings feel rough. I mean, I've shown you some of the strings under close pictures. They get bad. Strings need to be changed. If you're playing that guitar and it's an acoustic guitar, change them. I'd say once. If you can, change them 2 to 3 times a year. If you ain't playing it a lot, you can get away with maybe 2 times a year. You really shouldn't if you're picking hand, your pick control is up there. If you have the mastery and you learn that correctly, you won't break strings anymore. That's my tip right there. Even classical guitar, I've been playing, I have this, I love my classical guitar. Didn't think I would ever play classical guitar until I got it back, and I'm just like, I don't want to play. I play this. I love this Fender. I play it all the time. I love that Alvarez. I play it all the time. All my other guitars, Fenders, the Schecters, the PRS, I love them all, but I keep coming back to that. It's old classical Gibson, that beast. But it's something about the clarity of that tone. There's nothing changing it. It's just basic. It's mahogany. It's a plastic. It's just there. But I can handle pretty much most of your repairs and consultation and referencing because I can't do it all. Sometimes what I would call subcontract. I'm not taking anything out of anything. I'm just putting you in reference to the person that does that job at a better proficiency than I could. Or sometimes if I get a lot of, I call backlog,
Mm-hmm.
have several guitars in the stalls ready to go, I can only work on 1 or 2 at a time. And depending on what the problems are, I only have one soldering station. I only have one workbench area for the gluing or setup process, metal fretwork, things like that. And up to a point, it's like for setups we do. I'd call it like a 10 or 11 point inspection where I diagnose it. Acoustic guitars or electric guitars or bass guitars, we plug it in, make sure the electronics work. If there's problems with electronics, we see if there's anything that we can fix without replacing anything and address it. If it requires fixing or repair, we bring it up to the customer and say, hey, this is not me to charge somebody saying, hey, I did all this stuff without your permission and now you owe me all this money.
Yeah.
And which is like you take it to your car to a shop and it's like, hey, that's how they get you, you know. I should have known more, you know. But you know, I pretty much would do electronic diagnosis, like $30 for me to actually have to break out my soldering station. But sometimes it doesn't get that bad. Sometimes it just takes spotting or reflowing solder on some joints makes a big difference. Some of those connections were dirty to begin with, or just aged poorly, and or cold. We call a cold solder. It's a cold joint. It's basically the joint wasn't hot enough to meld the two pieces of metal, and it created air pockets in there. So now you have not a full solid conductive material. It's now you have something that's created moisture and a moisture pocket, and that leads to corrosion, rust, and all that. But that's leads to bad problems. But as far as diagnostics goes, I can handle pretty much any electronics. If you want to do pickup swaps or additions, we need to do battery pack swap outs, all the way to nut and saddle work. I do in the shop. I pretty much just carry stock bone, and if a nut requires replacing, for instance, your Alvarez,
nice.
we get those plastic. Even the guitars that were really nice that originally had bone, when you play them for so long and you string them, sometimes you wind up with a lot of grooves in the places that they don't need to be. And those 2 points of contact need to be pretty solid. They don't need to be impeded in any way, or else you're going to catch something that's not supposed to be there. Usually it's a sound, usually a buzz. But yeah, we shape the bone for the saddle, the bridge, or for the nut or the saddle. Do it for electric. We do it for bass. Haven't had to do so many basses because most of them are Graphtec now because they're more, I would say, effective. Honestly, they're more effective and efficient because as they're the sound transfer from that Graphtec compound, it's almost as solid as like this Delrin, this piece of plastic. So you don't have to worry about it having that really weak tone that typical plastic nuts would have. Now, some of your guitars would have a plastic nut. Most of your newer ones nowadays would have Graphtec, or brass or steel, because there's the steel locking ones. But bone has just got this really wonderful tone that transforms pretty much any hollow body instrument into something with so much more, I would say, resonance and sustain. More so sustain, because that's where it's at. Resonance resides in the body, but yeah, if you need to see me for any of that, and again, references, if you're trying to find a gift for somebody, for the holidays or birthdays, holler at me. I typically, I'm not always in the market for buying and selling things, instrument-wise, but in a way I kind of am. I've helped many families acquire their instruments to workable, like bringing the instrument from whatever case we got it in to a workable, playable state where I would be comfortable with giving it to one of my loved ones. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And basically you'll work with that family, say, hey, from saxophones to bass guitars, like helped a young lady get a bass guitar. Her mom hooked it up. I was doing handyman labor work and ran into this lady, and we started talking over a t-shirt, and next thing you know, she asked, and she says, would you mind? And I said, sure, why not? So anyways, I offer consultation, and just if you need to pick a brain about something or you're having an issue as well, I maybe point you in the right direction as well. So give me a holler, Henderson Guitar Repair. pretty much open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And that's our public time. That's whenever I'm publicly meeting anybody or doing any work. Outside of that, that's my time.
Completely understand
That's me
that,
time.
brother. Well, brother, I appreciate you
Hey,
coming
man,
on.
thanks for having me.
This is a good
It's
time.
been a good
dude.
time.
I
Bud.
enjoyed listening to you
Heck
and nerding out on guitars and, and music, dude.
I'm excited to do some more jamming and nerding out for sure later. Off the camera.
For sure.
Off the record. But yeah, it's been nice. And I've enjoyed this JM Exchange podcast. This is a very wonderful setup.
Thank you, brother.
Very welcoming vibe. And it's very cozy in here. So I invite any and all of the friends and families that are starting their small businesses to give a holler out to this man.
Yeah, reach out to me.
Yeah, just give him a shout, because your business is only going to get so far without the right networking. And what can we do besides help community?
That's what I'm here for, brother. Trying to get everybody's message out there.
We're all sitting at the same table. We just got to get, sometimes we can't reach it. We need a little help. So
yeah, y'all holler at me. All right.
Have a good night. It
Thanks,
was
everybody.
a wonderful episode.